Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Inspired Sovereignty Radio. So, friends, we've got another great episode today for you on the topic of cleansing and healing. And while we're on this amazing roll with enemas and talking about enemas and educating about enemas, and we hear that a lot of people have a lot of feels about it and a lot of questions about it. And because, we are on this path of transforming ourselves, and that starts as an inside job and truly like clearing out the physical and metaphysical darkness out of our own bodies in this journey of this collective great awakening. So understanding that if cleansing has not yet been on your radar in life, it's probably going to be. Soul is probably going to be calling you to clean house inside of yourself as well, just like ourselves and just like so many other people. So today's episode is our Instagram live from last week, and it is such a good one. We are sticking straight on the topic of all of our hang-ups around cleansing, around specifically being willing to do enemas within our own bodies, to be willing to literally clean ourselves out of the deepest shit that we've been holding. So with this episode, we are talking through from Kimberly's perspective as, a person who is going through her own journey of cleansing, relying on enemas right now. And then we also speak to it from my perspective of being a colon hydrotherapist for the last 10 years. I'm sure that I've had hundreds of colonics and enemas in my own body, as well as facilitated those first times and many other times for many people over the years here. So in this episode, we move pretty fast paced because on Instagram Live, we only have like 60 minutes to pack in as much as we can without it having to restart. So we move at a really good pace in this episode, but it's such an important listen. If you've got any feels around it, whatever the reasons are or the excuses or the fears, and you know that I say all of this with love. I say all of this with so much love, but it's super important that we just talk through those little things that are getting in our own way, our little beliefs, our little worries, all of those things. So in this episode, and I hope that this episode is a little bit hilarious. Also, it's definitely educational and informational. And if you have any feels about the idea of cleansing yourself out and maybe how that's icky, maybe how it's uncomfortable, maybe how we think that maybe it isn't necessary, or maybe we've talked to somebody else about it and they shared their own fears. We talk through all aspects of why you might not be feeling ready or wanting to do this for yourself. So please sink in, have a listen with this. Hopefully the audio is okay. There's only the best that we can do when it's like an Instagram live. So everybody, thank you so much for being here with us yet again. And we've got another really good episode coming out this Thursday on the spiritual immune system. So, of course, like our bodies are multidimensional. So as much as our immune system is like a physical, physiological aspect of the human body, it is also multidimensional. And we're going to talk about protecting and strengthening our immune systems on all levels. So sink into this episode because for sure you're going to learn some stuff. And for sure in this episode today, you're going to end up feeling a lot more comfortable about cleansing yourself in the future, okay? So we love you all so much, and we hope that you enjoy this episode as much as we enjoy creating these things. And again, if anybody has suggestions or questions or things that you would like us to cover in these episodes or in our weekly Wednesday night live on Instagram, where it seems like we tend to talk mostly about cleansing and enemas and parasites and mucoid plaque and all of the stuff that just not enough people know enough about. So we are here infusing this knowledge and wisdom and experience into the collective so that all of us can literally let go of dark shit and create more space to anchor light within ourselves. So send us a DM or comments in the YouTube video, because of course this is on YouTube as well, our friends, and let us know if there are things that you're really curious about that we can probably help with. So tremendous love to all of you. Enjoy this episode, and we will see you in the next.
Hey everybody, how's everybody doing? Hey Patrick!
Hey!
Hey everybody! So we've got a really fun conversation today that is going to be good for everybody, especially, well, we're talking about hang-ups. Hang-ups around pooping, colonics, enemas. What else are we talking, Kimberly?
Mainly that, befriending your butt.
Yes. Yeah. So, right. Oh, okay. So what did you name this one? Demystifying hangups around. How do I see the rest of it?
Enemas.
Around enemas. Okay,
Yeah.
good. So if anybody wants to pull in any questions they have or any hangups they have, please put them in here so that we can absolutely address them. I've got my sparkle filter on today because this is such a
Ew.
shitty topic. I thought, let's make it a little fun.
I love it.
Okay, so Kimberly, hey, how are you doing today, girlfriend?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing really good, thank you. It's good to see you.
You too. I'm gonna take my shoes off and get comfortable.
Okay, let's get cozy. Let's get really cozy.
Yeah.
Okay, so guys, talking about enemas, talking about colonics, if you guys have paid any attention to our previous lives, you'll know that we talk about this type of shit a lot because there's not really enough people talking about it, and it's massively important to all of us on all levels right now, right?
Yes, all levels.
Yeah. So, and oftentimes, and everybody should know, I'm a colon hydrotherapist. I've been doing this for a decade. So I've seen a lot of great shit and a lot of crazy shit. And really what we have stuck inside of us definitely impacts our health in all ways. Mind, body, soul, like really your gut is the house of everything in you. And the gut is also multidimensional, of course. So when we have a whole bunch of stuff polluting us, it pollutes us in all ways. So when we start getting rid of that internal pollution, we start having changes everywhere inside of us on all levels. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, that was so perfect.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And so when we talk about this stuff, it's like normally people have like 100 different reasons why they're like, I can't do that because of this. And I'm not comfortable because of this. And I couldn't even imagine doing that. And like, how could I? I don't know how. I'm going to hurt myself. Like all of those things are what we want to address tonight, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Okay. So Kimberly, I've had a whole bunch of experience flushing shit out of myself because I was a super constipated person and a once a week pooper for 20 years. And Kimberly, you have been cleansing like a mad woman lately.
Yes.
God. So share some of your stuff here.
I am, I guess a month in total as far as beginning a cleanse, going raw vegan to start preparing my body, alkalizing my body to get ready for a cleanse. And then I'm on day 11 of a serious poop chute cleaner. So this is herbs and bentonite and psyllium, just like Ivy always says. And I've been doing that for 11 days and also doing enemas to help excavate what is hanging out inside.
Amazing. And you're probably, 8 months into a mixture of colonics and enemas, right? We started off with a good number of colonics, maybe 7 for you. And then you've been predominantly relying on enemas since then, right?
Yes,
and normally doing like a couple enemas a week for a couple months now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. Okay. So Kimberly, how and where do you want to start tonight? This is going to be such a good, shitty conversation.
Yeah. So we've been talking about different hang-ups, and Ivy, here's a lot of different reasons why people don't want to go in there. And so we thought talking about that would sort of demystify all those beliefs that people have around it, or like we said, hang-ups, reasons, excuses not to take care of down there.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And like most people, if we can like give everybody the huge benefit of the doubt that none of us were trained to understand that the sewer of the body, it always slowly gets backed up over time, or quickly for some of us. But like we all house so much pollution in our bodies, and this is where like all of our diseases and issues come from. 90% of all diseases come from the colon because there's putrefying old poop stuck in it. So when we just clean this out, I just really want to normalize that this is what we're supposed to do. Pretty much all of the health problems, psychological problems, everything that we go through as humanity, if we just kept our pooper good, this wouldn't be an issue, you know? And Jesus talked about how to clean out the gut. And of course that was omitted from the Bible, but that's a conversation for one of our next podcasts.
Yeah.
Okay, Emerald. Okay, cool. Okay, Emerald, I'll quickly address that question. You asked, I've started a gut health oil. So let us know, is that an internal oil that you're taking? Is it something that you're rubbing on top of your belly? I'm assuming that it's something internal. I'm taking this oil that's supposed to kill parasites. Poops are great twice a day, but how do we know if the dead parasites are coming out? Is the enema the only way? When we have parasites, and I'm sure we're going to do a talk on just parasites so that we can get a really in-depth look at that. And yeah, look at that. But parasites are all different types. We've got easily about 7 or even more different species of parasites that'll live in the gut. So we're talking microscopic to like 2 or 3 feet long. So often the longer ones, as they're dying and coming out, you'll see them kind of in your poop. Sometimes it's hard to tell. They often look like mucousy strands, but mucus is never in strands. That's always dead worms. But depending on what you're pooping out, sometimes it's really, really hard to tell. But when you're doing enemas, it does make it a lot more clear. Better yet, if you can have a colonic where it's actually like a machine with the tube that's illuminated, that is how you see them really, really good. So I will finally start uploading photos for you guys. But yeah, you don't always see them coming out, like Kimberly, with what you're letting go of, which really we've got to share photos some days or someday with all these people, because like what you're getting out of your butt, Kimberly, of the quality is so magnificent that for sure there's parasites in there, but it's such a gorgeous mess that it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yes. And yes, Chantel, fenbenzidol is good for parasites. I took my fenbenzidol about half an hour ago and it's amazing. Okay, you're taking coconut oil, pumpkin seed. Okay, yeah, that is really, really good. Send me a DM if you want to talk more about that for sure, okay? Yeah, but you might see them, you might not see them coming out your butt, but keep up on enemas all the time. Okay, so Kimberly, where do you want to start with these hang-ups that we have around our poopers and getting our poopers right?
All right. One of the first one we're going to start with is probably well, they're all pretty common, but
yeah. And really we're not doing it in any order, right? We don't have an order. This is just random.
No, I have an order and I'll just read them off. Okay.
Okay.
Is that okay? Yeah.
Totally. No.
Okay. My body will forget how to poop if I do them, I'll have to keep doing them. So I say my experience with that?
Yeah. Okay. So everybody, with each of these hangups, we're going to share Kimberly's experience because she's deep in her own journey of purging right now. And then I'm going to also add to just from my experience of cleansing people for 10 years. Okay, Kimberly.
All right. I poop 4 times a day and I still do enemas. So, I mean, maybe I'm pooping a little extra, but, but I have personally, I haven't experienced an inability to poop because of an enema. And in my experience and from what I know from Ivy, it actually helps in that regard. So usually I'll do an enema at night and the next morning I still poop because I'm still moving out whatever's hanging out inside my body. So that's my experience.
Yeah. Sorry, the question specifically was it, if I'm doing enemas, will I stop pooping?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll have to keep doing them because if I start, I'll have to keep doing them because my poop chute's not going to work.
Okay. So everybody, your poop chute will keep working. Really, if you're doing laxatives or stool softeners, that's how our colon muscularly and also like nerve-wise can forget how to poop. If you're just putting clean, warm water up your butt with either a colonic or an enema, it's very safe. And like, we're actually strengthening your colon. We're helping its muscular tone. We're helping its ability to have peristalsis, which are those contractions that help the poop go through. And like, we're toning it as a muscular organ. So it's like, we're think of it as physiotherapy for your colon. So by doing enemas long term, you are absolutely helping out. You're strengthening that organ of yourself. But short term, sometimes like when people are in the beginning of cleansing, if they do some enemas or have a colonic one day, sometimes the body is like really processing and needs to catch up. So in the beginning, you might feel like you're constipated for a day or so, but then it comes down to hydration, eating plenty of raw fruits and vegetables, taking the psyllium and bentonite to help the body move, and even like abdominal massaging yourself. But if you have a day after your enema without pooping, do not worry. Just that's also why it's really important to do enemas multiple days in a row, because also what you're going to be hydrating and loosening and softening in your colon is like just current poop, but also the stuff that's stuck in you. And it's like, that's the shit that has been stuck in you. So obviously that stuff's going to be harder for your body to get out. So once we do an enema and we poop out what we can, but then we keep some water in us, it keeps softening softening things, but then that's like the sludgy, tarry shit that has a hard time coming out. So if you're constipated a bit the next day, do another enema if you have time to. Drink so much water. But then you get to the stage where Kimberly and I are at, and we can do an enema or a colonic at night. And the next morning, we're still shitting like a champ. So that's where we get to. In the beginning, it can take some time, though.
Yeah. I call myself a super pooper.
Oh yeah, you are a super pooper. And Emerald, you can get enema kits in many different places online. We're using, I think it's called Purium Enema. We'll make sure, I'll send you a link for it. You can buy a lot of different ones on even Amazon. Just make sure that you are getting all silicone tubing and either a silicone bag or ideally a stainless steel bucket. Only use silicone stainless steel. That's it. Okay. Okay. Kimberly, what's our next one?
Next one. What if I get poop everywhere and make a mess?
What if? Shit happens.
Shit does happen. I use a towel. I know somebody else that uses like a puppy pad. Yeah. Because sometimes, yes, there's a little bit of shit that comes out before you make it to the toilet. And also, I mean, there's been here I go. Here's my transparency.
When you say you use a towel, you mean that you've got a towel on the floor just underneath you as you're laying there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like my blankie that I'm laying on, and then I have a bolster for to rest my arm on. I have a whole system now. I'm like an expert. But there's been times, where I've gotten up and I go to sit and it's already happening. And it sort of makes a mess, you just clean it up. It's just shit. What you want is it to be out of you. If it hits the towel, it hits the towel. If it hits the back of the toilet once or twice, I'm not gonna say it's rare, but it doesn't happen that often, but it can happen sometimes, especially if you have like a real urgent, like you're having a day where it's like, in and I'm urgent. Sometimes it's like, whoa, wait a minute. So yeah, messes happen and it's okay. I mean, they happen when you aren't doing an enema. If you have diarrhea or something, that you have to clean your toilet after that sometimes too, it just, shit really does happen.
Yes. Good. Yeah. And with that, also, like as you go forward with colonics or with enemas, but with gut cleaning, the sphincter gets actually stronger. So normally if we do have like little messes that happen sometimes as time goes on, those, to me, they get less frequent, because again, as we get more and more of the old shit out of our body, we don't just have these like massive releases that have to happen anymore. So yeah, it's not often a mess. Sometimes it's just like a little bit of water with just like some mucousy stuff that comes out. Like, don't imagine like shit everywhere. It's not, Kimberly, it's not that, right? It's just like, a little spurt.
Yeah, it's not like you're gonna have to clean your whole bathroom.
No, exactly. And when I give
minor,
exactly, and when I give professional colonics, I have a pee pad from Costco down. So it's like you can always just put down a puppy pee pad. That way, it's like it catches anything that might move, and then you're good. Yeah. Did you suffer from painful constipation or PCOS or something that led you to enemas? I don't know which one of us that question is for, so it's probably both of us. I was constipated, a once a week pooper for 20 years, spent 10-15 years trying to search for all the answers, finally started going for colon hydrotherapy in 2012. It changed everything, of course. It was a miracle. Then I got trained in it, and now that's why I do that for people. What about you, Kimberly?
I started doing enemas mainly because I read about what is in my body, and I really wanted to release it, and not just for the physical, but for all the other things we talked about in the beginning, the spiritual part, just my emotional part, all the energy that goes along with it. And I was a decent pooper. Now, I did have an addiction, sort of, not an addiction, but like sometimes I would go like a week taking laxatives.
Okay.
Yeah, because I hadn't started the enema thing, right? So I go a week trying to just get all the stuff out of my body and not realizing what it was actually doing to me.
Oh, yeah.
Plus it made me feel like crap. So when I learned about enemas, I was like, okay, this is doing what I want to have done in a healthy way.
Right?
Right.
Yes. So
Yeah.
everybody remembering, if we're ever utilizing laxatives, that's really just like drinking Drano for your body. That like doing laxatives, it's only going to create more dysfunction and more issues over time. So it's like, it's not a good Band-Aid. Warm, clean water up your pooper. That's the only good way to deal with most all gut issues. And then of course, making sure that we've got the right things going down the mouth hole. Because everybody, in case I don't think I've said this today yet, you're a fancy, magnificent tube. From your mouth hole to your butthole, you're a 32-foot long tube, give or take. And depending on how this tube is functioning determines how everything is functioning. So most of us have a whole bunch of old crap from decades of just life stuck up our butts in like the last 6 feet of the digestive tract. So it's extremely important that we get that removed from all of us, because we're in an ascension event. And if you're full of heavy, dark shit, that's holding us all back from ascension.
Yeah.
Yeah, laxatives are dangerous, everybody. Yeah, laxatives are dangerous. Warm, clean water up the bottom end, and then fruits, veggies, living water, good water, psyllium and bentonite down your mouth hole, okay? Yeah. And also, everybody, we've got a podcast, Inspired Sovereignty Podcast. You can find us on almost all podcast apps and also on our YouTube channel, which is Inspired Sovereignty. And we put the podcast as a video on YouTube now also. So you definitely, if you like this conversation, that's hilarious. If you like this conversation, please go watch episode 61 that went out a week or two ago, because that is an amazing episode to get you acquainted with your digestive tract, enemas, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
a psyllium and bentonite to me now is my quote unquote laxative. Like it is my engine to move the stuff out and down. So I just imagine that when I drink it, I imagine what it's doing. It's just like scrubbing all the way down. So that is my new laxative.
Oh, exactly. That's such a good way that you put it there. And the psyllium and bentonite, if I can also just add, it acts as an appetite suppressant. The psyllium feeds the good bacteria in your colon. Oh my God, the liquid bentonite clay does so much amazing stuff. It pulls out all of the impurities. It binds with everything of positive or like positive charge in the gut and body, which you want to pull out. It even acts as a natural antibiotic for us when we're not feeling well. So it's like, that's such a powerful concoction. And episode 34 of the podcast is like, I think, a 35-minute conversation. And it's everything that I could tell you about doing the psyllium and bentonite cleanse. Okay. Super easy. Okay, Kimberly, what do you want to talk about next?
Let's see. There's a.
Oh, this is one of the points.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just go there. Let's go there. I don't have any experience with that, so I've never had a colonoscopy, but
Yeah.
I know several people that have said the same, like, oh, it cleaned me out completely. Lots of people say that. Lots.
Yeah. Okay, so Emerald saying you had a colonoscopy a few years ago, felt super cleaned out after the weird stuff they made you drink. Yeah, I had a colonoscopy at 21 and it was a horrible experience. So before you have a colonoscopy, normally they get you to drink a huge amount of magnesium citrate and take some stool softeners such as Dulcolax. None of those things are safe for the body. Of course, those aren't good for the body, but it does make you have explosive diarrhea, and of course, like that's not healthy for the body at all, but you know, it does the trick-ish for people going for colonoscopies. Often when people are super impacted, you know, doctors will say like, you're still too bunged up, we need you to do it again with all the laxatives. But yeah, a lot of people say that they feel really cleaned out after that, but you know, there isn't any way that is actually cleaning out like the mucoid plaque and what has been stuck in your body for a long time. I mean, if it could all in one go, that would be amazing. None of us would have to do enemas or do colon hydrotherapy or become colon hydrotherapists. Right. If that actually worked, I wouldn't have a job, you know? So really, like the magnesium citrate and laxatives, they're just trying to violently, irritably, inflammatorily just expel whatever like current poop is in your system. Just rapidly expel it out, but it's not going to do anything to actually take like the stuff that's built up on the walls of your colon and get that out. Because like the only way that that stuff comes out is with heavy duty soaking with water, which is the, you know, the universal solvent, and also herbs and things can support removal of the mucoid plaque as well. But it's great that you feel empty after a colonic, and I mean really full of air, or sorry, after a colonoscopy, but you still definitely have like old junk just stuck in the trunk.
Yeah. And it's just a bunch of chemicals. And I've seen people where they're like, they pour like Miralax in. They have to drink like 2 things of like 32 ounces of Miralax in Gatorade. I mean, you're just literally putting toxins in your body when you're doing that, like so much.
Oh yeah.
When
Right.
you can do it naturally and healthily.
Yeah. And it's not only with enemas and colonics that we're expelling the poop, which we are, but we don't do it in a volatile and violent way. I mean, sometimes it's intense, but it's good. But remember, with a colonic and an enema, we're actually nourishing and rehabilitating the tissues of the gut. So we're actually we're helping heal the body through the enema, where it's not only expelling the waste. You know, it's like, again, with an enema or a colonic, we're working on so many different levels, and we are positively, benevolently affecting the body and the colon in so many different physical, physiological, and biological ways. So it's, yeah, it's like we now, I mean, this used to be a thing that like some of us would do, but now that we're in this ascension event, this is time that we all do it. That's why we're coming with such an approach that's real and hilarious, because it's like, this is for all of us now. All of us.
Yeah. I agree.
You did not approve that message.
Chris, you're silly.
Okay,
we need to bring Chris on here to talk about her experiences.
Yes.
He's an expert. Okay, how about this one? I've tried a drugstore enema and it made me sick, and or it didn't work. Now this is, I have never, but I've seen all those drugstore enemas, and I look at them and I'm like, this is just one little plug that you stick up your butt and it's a one shot. What the hell's that gonna do? I mean, what is that gonna do? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
okay. So
yeah,
I've done one of those once, because I went to Taos, New Mexico for a week when I was living in Canada, and I got so bunged up that when I got home, my mom picked me up from the airport, and I was like, take me to a drugstore, I need an enema. And I'd never done an enema before, and I bought one of those little fleet enemas. It's like a little cylinder with like a squeezy tip on the end, and it's full of like mineral oils, and it's like, but it's those things are not good for you. Not good, not good, not good. And it's such a small amount. So really, when you squeeze that into your bottom, it's only going to be affecting like your rectum, so just the last maybe 6-8 inches of your colon, whereas an enema or a colonic can actually go around like the entirety of your colon, which is like, you know, up to about 4 to 6 feet. So with an enema or a colonic, we're actually saturating, hydrating, moving stuff out. With one of those little fleet enemas, it might get a little bit of stuff moving, which is great, but those aren't like, they're not really real enemas, you know. So when people try that, and if that's their only idea of what an enema is, and then it was uncomfortable, it left them feeling gross because it stirred some shit up, didn't get shit out properly. And again, it's not water. That's a concoction that big pharma makes that shouldn't be going up your butt where your blood supply is, you know. So it's like, when we do an enema like that, often we don't feel good after. It doesn't feel good, not much happened, and it was a waste of money, and it was just an uncomfortable experience. So know that if you have if you use those enemas, that's not when we say enemas, I never count that as an enema. A real enema to me is where you have either your enema bucket that's stainless steel, or you've got your silicone enema bag, you've got your silicone tubing, you lubed up a little, you know, thing and put it in your butt, and you filled yourself up with water, then you got on your toilet and you pooped it all out. That's what a real enema is. It has to be just good warm water. None of those fleet enemas, those things are garbage. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. They are garbage.
Yes.
Do you want to answer?
Let's just see. Okay, so yeah, you remembered after you had a baby, they gave you Miralax? Yes. And you actually did it because I was scared you were going to rip my stitches. Yeah. And so with the programs that we're creating, it's like, we want to help the gut health and freeing up the poopers of everybody, children, women, men, you know, pregnant mamas, postpartum mamas, like all of it, because it all really, really matters. And so that's why we really want to get gut health good before pregnancy or during pregnancy, especially because generally the more pregnant we become, the more constipated we become. And then we have so much healing to do after giving birth. And the bowels are so related to all of that healing. So definitely we're going to talk more about that. And if anybody has questions, DM me. And Chantel, do we have an Amazon store of, I don't know how, can we create an Amazon store of recommended products? Like, is that being an Amazon affiliate, or is that something different? But I like what you're talking about. If you can tell us more information or DM us, that sounds very, very interesting. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, Kimberly, what's our next little hang up about our pooper and our enemas?
I have diarrhea, so that means I'm cleaned out. which, okay,
You answer that first.
I believed that because I was taking laxatives. So that meant I was cleaned out. That meant everything was out. I'm nice and clean. I have diarrhea. Yeah. So I really believed that for a long time.
Yeah, but when you believe that before compared to now, you're on this cleanse and the quality of crazy outer space shit that you're getting out of your body now.
Yeah.
What does that mean before to be cleaned out in air quotes with a laxative versus holy fuck, I'm shitting out mucoid plaque now.
Oh gosh, it is. Well, first of all, it feels better. Physically feels better, like coming out of my butt. Sorry, guys.
Yes.
Just to be really candid. But, you know, diarrhea is uncomfortable. And it hurts and it stings and it's watery. And what's coming out now is not watery. It's loose in a way, but in like, it just, I'm going to get really
Guys,
gross.
she's getting out mucoid plaque.
It just slides right out instead of like that spastic feeling and that pain in my gut. This is not like that,
right? No,
it's
exactly.
not like that at all.
It's not, it doesn't all have to be cathartic like it is with diarrhea and with laxatives and things like that. And so for everybody to know that normally, like when we're having diarrhea, that lets us know that the gut is already in an inflamed and more fragile state. And so if we have diarrhea, it's normally because there is already like a lot of unwanted old fecal matter in the gut, making it a very acidic and inflamed space. So instead of your food or poop slowly moving through the colon like it should, it's rapidly going through so that your body isn't able to absorb the moisture out of it like it should be able to do. That's why it's coming out so watery and so loose. So if you're having diarrhea, you're definitely not cleaned out. You probably have a good amount of old shit stuck in your body and parasites and yeast and bad bacteria, and that is why we're actually having the diarrhea. So when we have chronic diarrhea or we flip-flop between constipation and diarrhea, you got junk in the trunk and you got to clean that out because your colon's going to be inflamed until that shit is out. And it's healing. The stuff is so simple. Healing IBS, IBD, colitis, Crohn's, so simple, so simple. Everybody reach out to us if you have any of those issues and you're tired of that, because it's not a life sentence. That's absolute bullshit. I've seen it heal so many times.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
Next. Let's see. I'm like, okay, we already did this one. Okay. I'm going to perforate or rupture something. What if I do it wrong or I hurt myself? Okay. This is where really like befriending your butt comes into play, right? Because once you've done it a few times, like for me, once I've done it the few times that when I started, I know exactly where the second sphincter is. I know exactly how much lube to put on. It's like that part of it, I just really breathe through and I can sense, you know, having done it enough times. But even in the very beginning, it wasn't a fear of really wasn't that much of a fear of mine because I just didn't have enough knowledge to be afraid of it. But it is the way it goes in and the way it slides in. It, to me, I'm like, it kind of holds itself in place. It sort of like finds its way and sort of tells you where to stop.
Yeah.
You know, and then if you hit that little wall, because you kind of hit a little wall in the beginning, and then you just breathe through it and just press lightly, then you'll go through the next one. Once the water starts flowing, it just pulls it in automatically. You don't even have to do anything.
Okay, but you've never had fears of perforation or anything like that?
Well, once I heard about it, I started having fears about it, but but no, I know my rectum well enough now to where that's not a fear. But yeah, once I started hearing about it and like, oh, you could do this and you can do that, I was like, well, shit, I need to be careful. But I am careful, and you can, to me, you can sort of feel you can feel where it's getting hung up. And if you're going in, if you're laying down, and you're going in, it feels more natural to me than I'm going to do something wrong. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And professionally, on my side of things, like that's a question that people always have. Like, well, what if I tear? What if you cut me inside? What if any of those things, you know? And it's like that just doesn't happen. It's like we are so strong inside. And first off, like the speculum that you're putting into you, when it's a colonic, oh, I should have one on me. Maybe should I grab one? No, it's okay. It's like a plastic thing and it's rounded at the tip and we lube it up, and like putting that inside of your body, it's so safe. It's so gentle. And if you're doing enemas at home, it's going to be a much, much smaller little tip, and you're going to lube it up, and putting it inside of yourself is so gentle and it's easy. And it's like, we don't like, it's 3 layers of muscular tissue. So it's not just like skin, it's actually muscle, you know, so it is very, very strong. One of the women that trained me, she had been in the business for probably 40, 50 years now. And in her training, they got her to go to an autopsy where she could actually like feel somebody's colon. And she told me, she was like, Ivy, the colon felt like a tire, like a car tire. Like she said, it was so strong and so sturdy that she was like, after I felt that, I was like, I never worried about perforating anybody ever again. Because you have to remember that the colon is going to stretch. Like if the colon could so easily be perforated, then everybody out there with a distended belly, with a beer belly, would rupture. Literally, because it's like your colon. I used to not shit for 7 days. Some people literally don't shit for 7 to 14 to 21 to 30 days. That much shit inside of you, everybody, like most everybody should just be exploding. Do you know what I mean? Like if that was the reality of it. So like and also let me say, like when we're just putting water into the bottom, it's like if there's too much water pressure, and when you're doing an enema, it's gravity fed, so it's extremely safe. But if there's too much water pressure, it's like some of it'll just come out your butthole. It'll be fine. You know, you won't blow yourself up like a water balloon, because if there's too much water, some of it will just leak out your butt and it's totally fine. But let me just say that the times that we do want to be cautious about perforation is if anybody has been having chemotherapy, because that is poison to your body. Also remember, chemotherapy causes cancer, guys. That makes no sense. But chemotherapy, because it weakens our tissues. If you've recently had abdominal surgery, or if you're like very, very elderly, or even have like diverticulitis, we want to be careful then. But diverticulitis is one more reason to do enemas, even though it's in some ways also a contraindication. So talk to me if you've got that situation going on. But generally, we're never ever going to perforate if we're properly using a safe enema kit and just using water. It's not going to be a problem. Remember that like some people's colons can hold like 30, 40, 50 pounds of poop. Wow. Stuck and impacted into a colon. So putting a little bit of water up there, if you haven't already exploded just from being full of shit, the water's just going to be helpful and therapeutic. The water's not going to make you pop. Sorry, Kimberly. I got to say it like it is, you know?
I love it. Yeah. There's a question for you right there.
Oh, okay. Oh, hang on. Oh, and one more thing about perforation is like, again, if we have extremely horrible Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, where like the tissue is so disastrously weak, like those aren't the times to do enemas anyways, you know, but also in that situation, like we never do an enema if you're actively bleeding. Okay. Okay. So we have got small internal hemorrhoids. Is it still safe to do an enema? Yes. Hemorrhoids happen from pressure being in the gut, sometimes because baby pressure during pregnancies, sometimes just because of like gut pressure because of impacted poop. So yes, it's important to do enemas. Also, psyllium and bentonite if you've got hemorrhoids. Okay, everybody, psyllium and bentonite if you've got hemorrhoids. But yes, it's safe to do your enemas as long as you're not bleeding already. So if your hemorrhoids are in a place where it's like you're actively getting some blood out, increase your water. Eat super, super good, psyllium and bentonite, and then a couple days later, once any bleeding of hemorrhoids has stopped, then proceed very gently with an enema, okay? And no pushing, no bearing down. Try to let it all be as graceful coming out as possible. Silicone tubing sounds safer than those plastic bottles. Yes, absolutely. Again, with enemas, with colonics, we only want to be using stainless steel or silicone as the bucket or bag for an enema, and always silicone tubing. Never, ever, ever any type of plastic or rubber, because we're affecting the nervous system, and we're directly feeding and hydrating the blood through the colon.
Yes.
Next one. and everybody here, thanks guys for hanging out with us. We hope that this is really, really helpful. And if you're liking this conversation, please go check out the podcast, guys. We've got so much good shit in there, like literally. Okay. What's the next one?
Okay. I'm looking at him. I'm like, ooh, where do I want to go next? How about I went for a colonic and I felt so bad after. So
Ooh. Well, you went for one colonic like a decade ago, right? And everybody, you never start with one colonic. I'll talk about that in a second, but that's what you did, right? How did that pan out for you? Was it shitty?
it was shitty. I it was very shitty and uncomfortable. I can't recall like any aftermath or anything like that. But I was in a lot of pain. Like, yeah.
Okay.
So, but that was, I had a lot of stuff going on with me at the time. You know, I was taking a lot of pharmaceuticals. I was diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome. So I already had like an irritated everything. Like everything hurt. Everything hurt down there. When I couldn't get through a meal without having to go to the bathroom. Now this was like in my early 30s. So like 20 years ago. Yeah. So, but I mean, and then having colonics now, I, I, I mean, I feel a little bit icky, maybe once or twice. I can't remember really feeling icky more than that, but to me, it felt more like, you know, stuff is happening. Yeah. Good stuff is happening. Like I'm about to release more, maybe in the morning or whatever the case may be.
Okay, good. Yeah. I've had a lot of times people come to me and they're like, yeah, I had one colonic a long time ago and it was such a bad experience. Like it was so crampy, it was so uncomfortable. The next day I felt so sick. And so that is common when colon hydrotherapists aren't doing their job as well as they could be. So, and this, whether it's a colonic, whether it's an enema, remember that those are both the same things. It's warm, purified water up your butt. One of them is with a professional and you're paying somebody to do it. One of them's at home and it's all great. So we want to always be doing prep beforehand, you know? So that means that it's like we've become hydrated for at least a couple days beforehand. We want to be drinking more water every day, aiming for a gallon, because that's going to start hydrating the colon, better hydrating the poop, so that when we do the enema or colonic, we're actually going to get stuff moving easier, which is going to make a better experience, a more comfortable experience, less crampy. I mean, normally it's still going to be gassy, you know, but so often colonic or colon hydrotherapists don't get you to prep beforehand with drinking more water, eating less bread, cheese, you know, eating less of the stuff that gets us like all gunged up inside. And then often they won't tell you to do psyllium and bentonite. I always like getting people doing psyllium and bentonite for a week beforehand. If they're booking their appointments even further out, we want to do it longer than a week. If we can do it for a month, awesome. So same thing with your enemas. Like it's okay if you don't do prep, but doing prep, you're going to get a better experience, like a way better experience. Yeah. So it's drinking water to be hydrated first. It's doing psyllium and bentonite. And then when you do that first enema or like that colonic, it's like you want it to be long enough that you're actually getting stuff out. And if you can, keep going until nothing really is left in there. But overnight, your colon is going to hold into some of that colonic water or enema water, and it's going to keep soaking things. It's going to open up Pandora's box of toxins in your booty, and it's going to start stirring up toxicity that's been more like dehydrated and dormant in you. And remember that your colon is directly feeding into the blood supply and also your enteric nervous system. So suddenly, let's say you had your one colonic, maybe we didn't prep for it, maybe we did, but still we got out whatever we could during the colonic, and then overnight our colon still has water in it, so the work is still being done. We are opening up this huge detoxification process and we're softening and soaking old shit. And at the same time, most all of us definitely have a good number of parasites in the colon. So while all of this soaking is happening overnight, we're also generally drowning out parasites. So think of when it rains a whole bunch outside, you see earthworms drowning on the sidewalk, right? Earthworms can drown, even though they're things that live in the dirt underground all the time. Just like worms living in the mucoid plaque in our body. You know, our colon isn't always full of water or anything, just like the ground isn't full of water. So when we're doing an enema or a colonic overnight, some of those worms are going to be drowned. So normally after somebody's first colonic that they didn't prepare for, then that night it's like they are detoxing hard and they are killing things in their butt. And that is why when you do a colonic or an enema, especially in the beginning, you want to go at least 2 to 3 days in a row, because that second day, we need to flush out whatever we just killed and whatever just like soaked and saturated.
Yeah.
And then even the next day, one more time if we can. So most like good colon hydrotherapists will go 2 days in a row or 3 days in a row only. Like if somebody wants to come to me for one colonic and I've never seen them before and never helped them before, I won't do it, because I'm going to put them in a position where they're going to feel even worse. So if you're feeling really horrible the next day after your enema or your colonic, if you feel terrible or feel gross, you feel exhausted, you got a headache, you feel like you're coming down with a cold, you need to do another enema, because that's your body saying there's some crazy shit going down here, you know. And again, remember from what I said earlier in this conversation, that we're loosening the shit that your body has had a really hard time of ever getting rid of. That's why it's been stuck in you. So that second day, we want to help it out again with another enema. Did I explain that okay?
Perfect.
Okay, so that's why people, like, if you're like, oh, I had that one colonic and I felt so bad the next day, I never wanted to do it again. It's because one colonic, it's like we just opened up a book that you weren't ready to turn the next page, and we got to keep those pages turning.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah. If kids need an enema, what age is safe? Really, enemas can happen at any age as long as we're doing it, I mean, safely. So purified, warm water, the right type of enema kit. But with children, and I've said this in previous conversations, we always want to be so gentle. First, always, we want to look at diet, we want to look at hydration, and we want to start incorporating some psyllium husks, psyllium flakes, psyllium husks into the diet. And it's really good with a child, depending on how young, to start with like 1/4 of a teaspoon to 1/3 of a teaspoon of psyllium in like a little glass of water. So we want to do everything that we can down the top of the tube through their mouth hole before we start putting anything up a child's bottom, again, because the colon, the anus, is a portal of consciousness. So we want to be so spiritually respectful as adults. So please message me if you want more details on that. And Kimberly and I, like, we should do a conversation one day specifically on children. And in the enema program that we're creating, it's an enema program for the entire family. So this program will address mothers, women, husbands, men, children of all ages. Okay. But yeah, with children, enemas are safe, but we always want to go through all of the other things that we can do before we go to an enema point.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So what's our next one?
Okay. I'm going to wash out all the good stuff.
And I hear that all the time. Also, I mean, it's a good thought, but super untrue. Do you want to handle that one first?
Well, I mean, I can't speak to it scientifically like you can, but I can speak to it in that, I don't feel like I'm washing anything good out of my body.
You're not feeling depleted?
No, I'm not feeling depleted. I'm actually feeling more energized and more grounded doing them. And I just see, I mean, I guess you can't see good stuff, but I mean, I'm just happy to get the bad stuff out. And but I don't feel depleted. I don't feel sickly. I don't feel like I'm having to replace anything in my body or replace anything in my gut.
You feel alive and light and spacious and clear, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yeah. So for everybody who's like, oh, I don't want to do an enema or a colonic because it's going to wash all the good bacteria out. Well, if you've got 5 to 25 pounds of old shit wasting, well, not wasting away in your gut, but putrefying constantly at body temperature in your body against your tissues, you know, again, it's not encapsulated in anything. It's like, it's just sitting there inside of you all the time. But with old poop being stuck inside of you, that means also you've got a bunch of opportunistic organisms, being different types of yeast, a whole bunch of bacteria. And remember that there are even cancer-causing bacteria. Bacteria creates pathogens in the body, and also parasites, which are very, very toxic, and as well as toxic to the nervous system. So if you've got all of these things inside of you, the good bacteria doesn't have a chance. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's just it. It's like, like we have to get out the bad guys in order to give the good guys an actual opportunity to colonize and flourish and become truly well and vital and balanced. So yeah, so the conversation about like, well, what if I wash out the good guys? It's like, but you got so much bad stuff up your butt, the good guys are screwed. So it's like we always we always want to get out everything that has been stuck in the body and all of the bad stuff that goes with it. And then we want to replenish the body with good bacteria. So that means taking probiotics down your mouth, eating your cultured foods. I'm not, at this stage in life, I'm not a kombucha fan, especially because we understand now how acidic to the body kombucha is. But like our kimchi, our sauerkraut, and then even in your enemas, and one day we'll talk about this, it's very therapeutic to open up one of your probiotic capsules and actually put it into your enema water, put that into your body and hold it in. That's a great way to replenish at the end of one of your enemas. Okay, that way we're directly recolonizing through the gut. But yeah, you're not going to wash out the good guys. You're going to wash out the bad guys like needs to happen. And then we're going to intelligently replenish the good guys after we washed out most of the bad guys.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. These two kind of go together. It's dirty and gross and it freaks me out. I just couldn't do that to myself. I can't handle it. So, like, okay. Number one, how many things in your life have you done that you thought you could not handle? You know?
Yeah.
And you did it. So
Yeah.
it's like, this is just one of those things that it's like, it's a necessary thing for what's happening in the world right now, for ascending, spiritual, emotional, the full gambit. So, you know, you probably didn't think you could meditate, or you probably didn't think you could drive a car, or you probably didn't think you could, you know, I
give birth, anything,
yeah,
right? We have these fears about anything. Yeah.
Right. And then you found out you could. And I was in that boat too. I was like, this is, I don't know. And, but once I did it the first time, I was just like, oh yeah, okay, this is amazing. And I'm going to keep doing this. Oh, I can't wait till tomorrow.
Right?
But it's just like anything else. It's like step through, you know, that resistance.
Yeah.
Because on the other side of resistance is the freedom, is the gifts.
Yes. And the wisdom.
Yeah. And that connection with your body, which is so important, this vessel that we've been given to ride around this life in, you know, we want that to be as healthy and vital as possible. And this is one of those things that is, it truly is, to me, it's essential. It's not like, oh, maybe I'll clean my butt out. It's like, no, I must clean my butt out if I want to be the person that I'm being called to be. If I want to step into my divinity, if I want to step all the way in, I need to clean out my ass.
That's so perfectly put. That's so perfectly put. Absolutely. That we get to a place where, like, it's not the most fun. Sometimes it's just a little bit gross, but it's required of us, for all of us to step into our next stage here. Yeah, Kimberly, you said all of that perfectly. If I can add to that, I guess, maybe some of you know from when I started doing colon hydrotherapy, like I went for my first appointments 10 years ago, and I was so nervous. I was so nervous. Like I could not even think about it until the day I actually showed up there. I like blocked it on my brain. I just knew that I was going to show up, and I had no idea what on earth was going to happen to me. I couldn't even think about it. I didn't want anybody looking at my butt. And also, guys, I've never had to look at somebody's butthole doing this for 10 years. So it's like, you know, it's like you can do a colonic or an enema and keep so much privacy. It's amazing. But when I have people come to me for colonics, they always come day one, they look like a deer in the headlights, you know? It's like they're so nervous that they almost look angry with me, or they're just nervously laughing, you know? And I remind everybody, it's like, this is a weird thing. You should be uncomfortable right now. Like you being nervous and uncomfortable and a little bit scared right now, that's the perfect way to feel. That's how I would feel too, you know? And so today, like always, your first enema, it's going to be a really weird experience. It's going to be odd. It's going to be different. But after that, it's the freedom. After that, it's like you get so in tune with your body. It's really not a big deal. You actually feel so immediately better, like immediately, as soon as your body releases, that for how many benefits are instantaneous to you and how your body feels, literally what you feel like physiologically, what your mind feels like even the emotional release that comes with it. It's like, as weird or as scary or as uncomfortable as it is on time number one, it's like, it is perfect. You're good. Just be okay with like, okay, first time I do this, it's going to be weird. Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah. And you know, kind of in the same, by the same token about just being afraid of what's going to come out and stuff like that. I've heard that too, where it's like, I don't want to see what comes out. I don't want to see what comes out. I tell you, I want to see what comes out because I feel like a warrior when I'm doing this. It's like I'm getting stuff out of my body that does not belong in there. I'm done with it. So I'm like, let me see what came. Well, let me see. And I'm almost disappointed when it's clear because I'm just like, damn it, you know? But yeah, I actually am one of those weird ones that enjoys seeing what is coming out of my body.
Yeah.
Because I have a warrior stance when it comes to that. It's like I'm releasing the darkness, basically.
Exactly.
It's like
You're evicting it.
Time to go.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Exactly. And have I ever mentioned the term shitgasm to you?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I've used that a bit in my colonics when it's the right clientele. But basically, like sometimes, and I don't mean that your colonic or your enema feels orgasmic. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying like the physical and energetic and even emotional release that you can feel after purging stuff that has been so stuck in you for so long, like really toxic shit. Like what you feel like during that, and then at the end of it is sometimes like it's extremely energetically liberating, if that can make sense. Yeah. And you when you're having your shitgasm, you'll know what I mean. And it's not sexual. Like that's not the connotation I'm going for there. What sort of foods build plaque? Oh my goodness. It's all the processed stuff, but also being on medications, being stressed, being dehydrated, drinking coffee. Yeah. Like it's so many, there's so many aspects to why and what we get stuck inside of us. It's not just the processed food. It has to do with so many factors. Like literally, even if we just don't breathe into our bellies ever, if we're sedentary, like there's so many reasons, and we can definitely go more into that. Maybe we'll go next week. Mm-hmm. Let's go maybe into that more next week.
Mucoid. Also, salt hardens mucoid. So if you're having a high salt diet, right now I'm salt free. So because it's like it just hardens it back up. So if you're thinking about all your processed foods, that stuff is so riddled with salt, right?
Yeah, and also we'll go with that's not real salt. That's also salt.
Exactly.
Table salt. Yeah.
So it's that table salt that's really hardening all that mucus, and your body naturally produces mucus to do its job in there. But what happens is because of our diet and all the stressors, like Ivy was saying, it hardens and then it gets stuck. Yeah. So that's what I'm working on getting out of my body right now.
Yeah. And can I quickly add to that just to give everybody a visual? Because yes, the colon is a mucous membrane, like inside your nose, like inside your mouth or your vagina. And so, right. So especially if we're irritated, if we're stressed, if we're eating inflammatory foods, colon is going to produce mucus. Then we get poop stuck in there, and then we're going to produce more mucus. And then the colon's more inflamed because we got poop in there. So we're going to produce more mucus. And basically the mucoid plaque is like over time, it's layers of poop and mucus and poop and mucus and poop and mucus that have bound up to form this nasty mucoid plaque. For some people, the mucoid plaque is like really shiny and pretty, like yours, Kimberly. But other people's, it's like darker, grayer, ropier, denser, harder. Like, so really mucoid plaque tells a story in and of itself too. It can be very, very different across different people. We probably, only have like 4 minutes left?
Yeah, we have about 4 minutes left.
Okay, let's touch on what else we can quick.
Okay, so we'll go with, I don't have time.
Oh, everybody, y'all got time, because do you have time to be sick? No. Depressed? No. Anxious? No. Inflamed? No. 90% of all the diseases that everybody get? No. Do you have time for your allergies, for your headaches, for your inflammation, for your skin issues, for
the doctor?
Yeah. It's like, no, you don't have time for that shit. You've got time for enemas. And at least that's how we're going forward, right? You back me up on that, Kimberly?
Yes, I back you up 100%. You know, yes. Replace, if you're doing enemas, you're replacing time that is used up somewhere else. Period.
Yeah. And remember, 80% of your immune system is in your colon. Over 95% of your serotonin is made in your colon. So you got time for your enema no matter what. If you've got the audacity to put a mask on your face, because that's going to help your immune system somehow, you can put a bit of water up your butt. Okay, what's our next one? Is that it's taboo. We're not supposed to go up there.
Yeah,
right?
that's one. Yep.
How would you answer that?
Go ahead. I don't know how to answer that other than that's just a belief.
Yeah, it's cultural programming. Because really, if they taught us to clean out our colon, big pharma would be out, guys. 90% of all of our diseases and issues begin in our gut. If more people went to colon hydrotherapists, if we all had a culture of enemas, if that was just built into us, we would not need much any of mainstream media or mainstream not music, what is it, god, medicine, all that crap. You know, like, it's just we go to a dentist for the top end of the tube, right, to keep this clean. We don't do anything about the bottom end. And remember that Jesus in the Essene Gospel of Peace, he taught people how to cleanse the body of basically clean up the demons and the demonic forces within us using the angel of water. So Jesus taught about this on how to take care of the body and keep the body holy. And that is also one bit of what was omitted from the Bible. So of course, like, if in our culture it's taboo, but when you look back at many indigenous and ancient cultures all over the world, from the Mayans to the Greek to the ancient Egyptians, they all did enemas because it is a spiritual tool first and foremost, and also physical, energetic, emotional, and mental tool.
And that should tell you something right there, because they didn't have processed food.
Exactly. And they still did enemas.
Yes.
Exactly. Yes. Okay, guys, well, we're running out of time here. This conversation will be up on our podcast at some point, and also the YouTube channel. It is so wonderful to spend time with you all.
Yes.
What else do you want to say?
That's it. I just, I thank you for hearing me and let me be real candid with my shit. And, if anybody has any questions or wants to know more, DM us. If you have a subject or something you want us to talk about, DM us and we will get on it. We're here every Wednesday night, pretty much.
Yeah. And guys, new podcast comes out every single Monday, sometimes also a bonus episode on Thursdays, but every Monday we got you guys. Please send us any questions you have around gut health or anything, because I think, like, Kimberly and I, we're here to lead the way on the poop story for everybody, to help us drop density and get more light inside of us.
Yes.
And heal everything. Everything.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, well, we love you all so much.
Yes, we do.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.